Good afternoon. Michael Mazarang here again. And today we're on East 5th Street in downtown Charlotte with one of our new customers. This is a commercial district, and as you can see, this is a building that's almost 100 years old, in fairly good condition. And we were called here to problem solve a basement cellar water intrusion issue. And as with many of these old style houses, you've got old cast iron plumbing, as well as just generally old construction types of techniques that were used. Quickly looking at this building, a lot of these older buildings downtown do have lots of old trees and plants. And we can see here these crepe myrtles are all pretty large. They're very old. I've already made the recommendation to the customer to replace all these bushes, pull these out and go with small plants, as that will help to protect an old foundation like this. This crepe myrtle here definitely needs to be cut down. And you can see this tree here has grown into the power lines. So definitely Duke Power needs to be contacted to perhaps help us out with pruning all this back. So also the house does not have gutters. So I've recommended that the owner of the building install gutters with 6-foot gutter extensions. Let's get this water away from the structure. And of course, all these overhanging trees need to be pruned back to keep that away from getting into the gutters. And that will also help with the drainage. Keeping all the vent wells clean and free of debris, as we see here, is also an important step into keeping this old building safe. These types of plants are perfect for flower beds, but again, you know, this is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Charlotte, and of course, you know, this building has been well maintained. The mortar joints look pretty good, but as we developed into this project, we found that a significant plumbing problem does exist, and so that's complicating the issue as we're dealing with a combination of foundation drainage as well as waterproofing challenges. And so I'm going to come down in here and kind of show the work area. Here. We're going to take a break here for a quick second so we can show the work area. The guys have already busted out a good amount of the concrete, and we've got water seeping in along this old foundation wall. It is also a crawl space does encompass this, the majority of this footprint, as you can see here. And, you know, it does have a vapor barrier, and the framing does look pretty good. We do have some supplemental supports that another company has put in that we're going to have to work around and kind of reset. That's supporting the floor system. Main thing, when you have a waterproofing problem, if you can avoid having to jackhammer and remove concrete along the foundation wall, you try to, but in this case we had so much water coming in here, we had to make a decision to take that risk. But in many cases I'd rather just put some Drylok on the walls and try to control or manage that issue without having to break out the floor. But we did decide to do a control system and a sump pump on this job. We've gotten rid of all the trash. You can see here we're getting that all packed up and getting ready to haul away to the landfill. But as you can see, we have a multitude of sewer lines. You know, we do have several units. This has been subdivided into businesses, and so these pipes are all active sewage lines. And what we found is that we've got multiple leaks going on in the sewer system. We're actively trying to troubleshoot that right now. We're working with a plumber to try to snake out the main line out to the street and hopefully save this customer a lot of money in potential plumbing repairs. and hopefully we can just correct all the leaks here and then reestablish the pipes. So as you can see, we're working our way around the perimeter. We're going to incorporate a series of laterals and trench drains to try to protect, go around some of these really old pipes. Since they're 80 years old, we would prefer not to disturb these old pipes. So we're going to do the best we can to restore or keep the original concept of how it was built 80 years ago, and try to limit the amount of disturbance that we're doing here on this old house. But you know, we got to do what we got to do to resolve, especially the plumbing issue. So this sort of sets the table for the project. We're still waiting for the plumber to get here, where we'll try to get this mess corrected, and then we're going to continue to install our drain system. And part 2 of the video will show that part of the project as we develop this project, and that'll be here in the next few days. We'll stop over again and see how they're progressing. We're back again on the 3rd day of work, and we started to put in some of the piping systems, as well as this drain here that we put out here in the basin of the base of the stairwell to help keep this clear. We were able to work with a local plumber, and we were able to correct this plumbing problem, and miraculously have an 80-foot section of this sewage pipe all the way out to the street. We were finally able to get that cleared, which made the customer extraordinarily happy, as it would have been an extremely expensive project to replace that pipe. We required an excavation, tearing out the parking lot, and working with the city to run a whole new waste line. So important to remember, when you live in these old houses in downtown Charlotte, be careful what you flush down the drain, as it will cause problems. And there are 6 businesses in this building that rely on this pipe. So we were very happy to save the customer quite an extensive plumbing repair by fixing what's here. So as you can see, we've added the rocks along our excavations. We are adding what's called a trench drain. We're doing that to protect these old plumbing lines that we don't want to disturb, and that way, you know, we can make an effective dry basement without having to take the risk of damaging more of these old pipes. So you can see here, we put our control pipe in the floor. We've got we've got a couple feet of gravel in this control trench over the pipe, and this is installed around the entire perimeter, at least most of the perimeter, where we can get at the interior wall. We are also deploying about 2 feet of hard wall sealer, as you'll see here. This is called FRP. And behind the FRP are the weep holes, which we've drilled into the base of the brick wall to allow trapped moisture to get into the system. And wherever the system is deployed on the exterior wall or exterior basement wall, cellar wall, we will have this FRP as our medium to hide the weep holes. Our sump basin is right here, which we'll install in the next stage, and we will of course install a new exit line to get the water out. So we have also started to deploy our liquid sealer above the 2 feet of FRP. We're coating these old brick walls with 2 coats of dry lot paint, which not only will brighten this room up, but also help with the moisture or bleeding and sweating through the walls that we often experience with old brick walls such as these. And this gets tied into the overall effectiveness of the system. And so once we have all the drain tiles installed, we also have one more room to do here. We still have some debris to throw away. This entire room will also be waterproofed. As we shared in the first video, we don't like to jackhammer around old walls, but this old basement was leaking so badly we decided to take the risk. But not on every single account will we recommend waterproofing. But this is a good example of when that is a probative solution. So the next stage, of course, will be this adjacent room, and we will then patch our concrete, cover all these plumbing lines back up that are now repaired. And then we will, of course, clean everything up, deploy the dehumidification system, and also our controlled ventilation program. So we look forward to seeing you here on stage 3. We just finished up waterproofing the basement. The guys are finishing up the work today. And as you can see here, we installed this drain inside the basin here of the stairwell. That's going to help to stop this area from flooding, which had been an issue. We're applying some cleaning solvents to the floor, and we're going to clean this up really nice for this business owner. And we've restored all the structural supports, patched up the floor where the plumbing problem was. That was a huge part of our deployment here, was resolving that issue. And just as final touch here to make sure that, you know, this 100-year-old building, these folks can bring their personal effects back down here, and it'll be safe for them to store it. You can see this trench drain here we ran across the floor. We decided to do this instead of trying to risk breaking the concrete out next to these really old plumbing lines. And since there wasn't much water coming in through this wall anyway, that made more sense. We can see here we have deployed a commercial dehumidifier. It is a nice day today outside in Charlotte. It's really in the low 70s, and then relative humidity is almost non-existent. So there's really not much need for this to run a whole lot today. But you know, we've got it set to operate at about 68% is what will set the long-term relative humidity on this particular dehumidifier. The customer decided not to do the controlled ventilation system based on you know, a budget investment. This was the more practical thing to do, just to do a closed program, just running the dehumidifier. We've got the discharge from the DU tied into our new sump basin. Of course, we've got a 1/2 horsepower pump down there, and all these drain tiles that are 18 inches beneath us are tied into that sump basin. Of course, with the FRP, we've got about 18 inches of FRP above the floor, tucked down into the system, series of weep holes, and it just really cleaned up really nice. You know, of course, the coatings on the walls, you never want to put any type of hard wall sealer over a brick foundation like this. It really just is not a good idea. And you can cause foundation damage on a wall like this. So we were really careful to break the floor out without trying to, to cause damage in these old masonry joints. And instead of doing the hard wall sealer, we did 2 coats of Drylok all around this particular part of the basement. You know, it's nice and dry up in the cellar section. Crawlspace section here, you can see here where another company has deployed some structural supports. They look good. We've even coated the Crawlspace piers as well. Went ahead and coated those as well to brighten it up here and give it a little bit more of a professional look. And as the floor system dries up here one last time, it'll be completely safe to store anything they want down here with the protection of the dehumidifier. As with any basement or an old building like this, if you're going to store things, it's better to store them in a tote where you can lock those things inside the tote, lock it down, make it airtight, and then stack it up against one of these walls. But at least now with the floor system waterproof, there's no chance of there being any leaking in here. And puddling, ponding, of course the sewer plow, the problem was probably 50% of the problem here to begin with. And of course we were able to get that issue corrected, saving this customer possibly $40,000-$50,000 to run a new sewer line out to the street. So important when you're doing business out of these old buildings in downtown Charlotte or any downtown area where you have old cast iron pipes. Be very careful what you flush down the toilets, and if you have customers that have to use the sinks and the drains, caution them to be as careful as they can what they put down the drain. Because once you clog up those old cast iron pipes, often they can't be cleaned, and doing an expensive, the homeowner is responsible, the building owner is responsible for the plumbing lines married up to the street. So So a lot of people don't realize that. The city won't pay for that. That will come from the homeowner, will have to pay for that. So this was a bullet that they were able to dodge here. So again, the guys did a really good job. They really don't get the credit and recognized for the hard work that they do. We really appreciate their hard work today and cleaning everything up, giving this final check here and final product so it looks great, and we'll be able to move on to our next product or project. But if you have any questions about Crawlspace waterproofing, basement waterproofing, hard wall or liquid wall sealers, dehumidifiers, controlled ventilation systems, plumbing problems that can often be associated with an issue like this, structural repairs, structural improvements like the ones you see here, give us a call. We do install these types of systems as well. And of course, applications of weep holes and hard wall sealers at the floor level to manage the water dripping into the system. It's an acquired. Make sure you gotta have the weep holes back there behind the FRP, or else it won't work. And I think that pretty much covers. Just cleaned up really well based on the original inspection here. This is quite a difference. So we really appreciate you watching today as the guys finish up. And you call us at the number at the bottom of your screen or visit our website. We're extraordinarily interested in any of your neighbors here. We worked on the house next door as well as several residences in this zip code. So if you're in the 28204 zip code or in the Elizabeth neighborhood, Plaza Midwood, we'd appreciate a phone call, and we'll be glad to come out and give you an evaluation, a free estimate on being able to correct these issues without a franchisee. We're locally owned, operated, and we use local suppliers and contractors for all of our materials. So that seems to work really well with our customers. They like that. So we appreciate hearing from you, and we'll be glad to come visit and take about an hour of your time for the evaluation. So hope you have a good rest of the day. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.